Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to Circling Seattle Sports on Converge Media. I am your host, as always, Charles Hamaker here. Yes, it's me. Man, I don't know if it's the bags under my eyes that you might be able to see, or maybe I look sickly. But yeah, when I talk about how the beginning of the year 2023 has been really busy for us, I'm not kidding. So, yeah, a lot going on. Obviously, with our teams, I mean, the Seahawks are in the offseason preparing for the NFL draft, currently still going through free agency. The Mariners have kicked off opening weekend, and the regular season is underway. The Storm are still kind of in limbo. It's the offseason. The Sounders are fully underway. The Kraken are in the thick of a playoff hunt. The Rain are underway. The Seawolves are, in the thick of their regular season. The Sea Dragons are in the thick of their regular season. So, yeah, it's been really busy. We've also got obviously CSS futures, and we have some news on CSS college here soon, but it's been busy. It's been a lot. So next time you're on our social feed or something, just, we're doing our best. All right. We're doing our best. So we're going to kick off obviously with our Seahawks here. There's not a ton going on with the Seahawks right now. Again, as I mentioned, they're preparing for the NFL draft, doing scouting visits and such. And with those visits, I think the Seahawks are having a little bit of fun with this possibility of what they're going to do with their top pick. They're the number 5 overall pick in all of the NFL this year. They've been visiting some schools with top quarterbacks in the college landscape. So we'll go here through some of the photos. They've been having the quarterbacks take these selfies with them. So you can see on the left there, we've got, I believe that CJ Stroud is on the left. Bryce Young is on the right there. So Ohio State, Alabama. I'll let you take a look at that for a second there. And then we move over here to Will Levis, I believe at Kentucky. And then on the right, Anthony Richardson at the University of Florida. Richardson obviously gaining a lot of talk around the NFL and around Seahawks fandom for his athleticism and the possibility of him being taken at the 5 overall spot. I still don't think that the Seahawks take a quarterback, with their number 5 overall pick. It also might depend on how it all shakes out. It really is interesting to see how the top 4 teams in the draft are going to go, whether Jalen Carter still goes in the top 5, considering some of the incidences that have taken place prior to this year's draft and since the college season ended. How many teams decide they really do want a quarterback? Where do CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson go? Where do those 4 go? What if those 4 go before the Seahawks pick? Is then Will Anderson the obvious pick there? Does Will Anderson go in the top 4? So there are some variables there. And, now that I put that into words, part of me believes there's no way that the Seahawks take a quarterback with their number 5 overall selection. The other part of me is thinking it might be possible depending on the way that things shake out. I know Tyree Wilson is somebody that has been viewed for the Seahawks at the number 5 overall pick. So long story short, the guys that aren't in the war room, we don't know anything. We know some things, but I think there are some variables that go into it. I don't think that pick gets used on a quarterback. I'm going to say that now. I also said that I didn't think that Geno Smith would be the starting quarterback. So, things shake out here and there. I would still like for Will Anderson Jr. to be the pick at that spot if he's available. Tyree Wilson's got some athletic upside. Do you give Jalen Carter a chance after what's been happening with him? The Seahawks have been notorious for giving players with troubled histories a second chance. Or do you get a guy like Anthony Richardson, develop him, let him sit behind Geno? I know that John Schneider said that they really liked him, but he's obviously got some things to work on, like all of the quarterbacks in this draft. So if you were looking for a clear and decisive answer on what I thought would happen here, I can't tell you. I cannot tell you. I'm sorry. So I think it's going to be interesting when the draft comes around, truly. And I'm even hearing that the Titans might try to move into the top 5. There's some there might be some potential shakeups with the draft before we even get there. So that's about it for our Seahawks. Again, there's not too much going on. Obviously, last week they signed Bobby Wagner, so that was good to see that that happen. Seattle get that done. So that's what's been happening with the Seahawks. We move over here to the Mariners side of things, where, as I mentioned last week, I recorded that episode on Sunday night, so we didn't get the Monday game that the Mariners played to wrap up spring training, and we'll go over that here. March 27th versus the San Diego Padres was a 4-2 loss. Our player of the game, second baseman Colton Wong, 1 hit, 1 RBI. It was a nice crowd there for that last game of spring training. Nice crowd at the Peoria Sports Complex. A nice Arizona day. Again, still weirdly chilly this spring, but it was nice to see that. The guys were the starters really played a few innings and then they were out of there. And then the Mariners team plane left about an hour after that game had ended. So they got done with that game. They got into the facility where a ton of stuff had already been packed up and loaded onto trucks and the plane, and they got the hell out of there. So there was that. Liv and I left Arizona on the 28th. On the 29th, the Mariners held their Diamond Derby and Skills Showcase. That was kind of fun to see. It was it was essentially like a workout that took place and that the fans were able to bear witness to. I mean, they did have sort of a home run derby kind of thing. There were a couple other um, activities that they had them do, like a bunt competition. If you've ever played Top Golf, there was like it was the names. The name of the event was called Fungo Golf, where they had the coaches of the Mariners try and get a ball as close as they could to certain targets in left field. So we've got that. Myself and Matthew Bermudez were there, and we have a little short sort of video from that event for you here. It is processing. There it goes. That will show you, so you get a little bit of a better idea. I'm trying to explain it, but we'll show that to you here instead. Charles Hamaker here with Circling Seattle Sports and Converge Media. Myself, as well as members of our team, are here at T-Mobile Park. We've got a little bit of a fun day here right before opening day. The Mariners are going to do a little bit of a workout here in about 3 minutes, and then they're going to have some fun activities for the fans here. Ichiro's down the line there signing some autographs, so it should be a lot of fun ahead of a really exciting season following the Mariners breaking their 20-plus playoff drought. Charles Hamaker here with Circling Seattle Sports and Converge Media here at the Diamond Derby and Skills Challenge. I believe it's the first time that the Mariners have hosted this event. We're a day before opening day. Another big season on the horizon here for our Mariners. Jared Kelly just wrapped up launching some mammoth homers. Hopefully looking to see that during the course of the season. It should be another exciting year for the team as well as our coverage of the team. So make sure that you're tuned in with us all season long as we hope for another playoff berth. So you get a little bit of an idea of what took place there. Again, it was essentially a workout that the fans could pay $10 on a Wednesday afternoon and get into. I hope that they continue something like that. I know a lot of people have been clamoring for FanFest to return. I don't know if that's what's replacing FanFest. I believe, as I mentioned, I believe it was, and I think it for sure was the first time that the Mariners have held that sort of event. There were some things to work on, but I hope that they continue that. Again, $10 to get in, and just improve upon it. But it was a nice little event to have prior to opening day. Now we'll get into the actual games themselves here. Beginning on March 30th, opening day versus the Cleveland Guardians. Lots of festivities, lots of fanfare. Our Mariners would win that game 3-0. Our player of the game, first baseman Ty France, 3 hits, 1 run, 3 RBIs, a go-ahead 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th inning would give the Mariners a lead, and then ultimately Andres Munoz would come in at the top of the 9th, lock that game down. France's 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th broke a 30-inning scoreless drought for the Mariners since the last time they were at T-Mobile Park, which goes back to that 18-inning game against the Astros in the third game of the ALDS, which isn't ideal, but it was nice to see them break that. This is also where I show the photos from these games, and I want to make sure I did that. That game, the last spring training game against the Padres, I'll show that. This photo from Liv here, you've got Eugenio Suarez in the front, out of focus here. Excuse me, because we've got former Mariner Nelson Cruz in the background laughing and trying to joke with Gino while he's at the plate. So it's always cool to see Nelson around. Just a great guy, really respected veteran around the league. And you've obviously got him messing with Gino here, which was a lot of fun. So that was a favorite photo of mine from that day. And then with opening day here, this one kind of told the story for me. We've got the fans in the background, with this new pitch clock. It's huge. It's out in center field, at least the one that the batter can see. And the fans throughout the course of this homestand have been counting down when a Cleveland pitcher has been on the mound. And that was showcased here against James Karinchak of the Guardians, who eventually gave up the 3-run homer to Ty France. He walked JP Crawford. He hit Colton Wong with a pitch, and then gave up the homer to France. And it was really fun to see. You've got them ticking down. They did the same thing yesterday, which was Sunday. So no, it was a lot of fun to see that take place. And it was really the ballpark really got loud. And I thought that kind of helped tell the story of that game, really, because it was a tight game. It was a great pitching matchup between Luis Castillo and Shane Bieber. Neither team able to get runs until that bottom of the 8th inning. So that was a lot of fun to see. We go here, back here. As I mentioned, Luis Castillo's name, he was our second player of the game from opening day. 6 innings pitched, only 1 hit allowed. It actually came off of the side of his head and his hair. He ultimately was fine and is able to stay in the game. Didn't allow another hits after that, and he struck out the side after that. So, and he also had 6 strikeouts on opening day as well. March 31st versus the Guardians, things did not continue positively in terms of the result. The Mariners would lose that one 9-4. Robbie Ray struggled. He would end up getting put on the IL. Well, I'm skipping ahead here to injury news, but Robbie Ray would struggle in that one. And the Mariners defensively struggled as well, which isn't something that's been characteristic of them. Last year and the last few years, they've been really solid defensively, and their pitching's been really good. And neither of those things went their way in this game against Cleveland. Our player of the game, center fielder Julio Rodriguez, 2 hits, 1 run, and 1 RBI on that day. It was also Julio bobblehead night, and Julio had 2 singles in that there, so he did his part. The only problem is with the 2 singles that he hit, they were 2 of the 3 hits that the Mariners recorded that day, so it's not ideal for the rest of the lineup. On the 1st of April, our Mariners would get shut out. They would lose that one 2-0 to Cleveland. Tight one. It was a struggle. Logan Gilbert pitched a otherwise solid game. He only allowed the 1 run, gave up a solo homer to Josh Naylor, and 1 run ball. That's not bad whatsoever in today's MLB. The only problem is he didn't get any run support. That was the only blemish on Gilbert's day. Diego Castillo would come in later and give up a solo homer. I believe it was to Andres Jimenez. But the Mariners they got blanked, and they didn't have an answer against Aaron Savali. So no player of the game there. I mean, he gets shut out. If we were to give one just to give one, it would be to Logan Gilbert because, again, a solid start, only 1 run. That's hard to complain about. April 2nd versus the Guardians, a 6-5 loss in 10 innings. Our player of the game, third baseman Eugenio Suarez, 2 hits, 2 runs, and an RBI. Another tough one. I mean, the Mariners bats were excuse me, were awake from the bottom of the first when Julio Rodriguez hit a solo homer to lead off, his 7th leadoff homer in his career, making him second on the Mariners' all-time list of leadoff homers in a career, trailing only Ichiro with 37. So Julio's got a ways to go to catch up to that. So that they would have that solo homer in the first. but then Marco Gonzalez struggled in the second inning, gave up. He couldn't get out of the inning. He had 2 outs. But he had 2 runners on as well. And Mike Zunino, former Mariner, hit a 2-run homer to left center, and it was a 3-run inning. So Seattle went in the hole there. They were able to match Cleveland, but they weren't able to score any runs after the 6th inning. And ultimately, in the 10th inning, Penn Murphy walked 2 batters, my apologies, loading the bases. And then it was tough on Gabe Spire. Gabe Spire came in, and the Mariners actually almost turned a double play to end the inning and get out of the mess. But let's see how it went. Yes, Cleveland hit a little comebacker to Spire. Spire got the automatic out at home plate, and then Cal Raleigh went to turn a double play and throw it to first, but the ball wasn't able to be picked by Ty France at first, and a run would score. So tough one there. The Mariners weren't able to respond in the bottom of the 10th, and they would lose that one, lose their 3rd straight. We'll go through the photos here. This is from the loss on the 1st. Oh, wait. We don't have the other photo. Where did it go? Well, that's unfortunate. 38, 39, 4. Well, we're on time crunch, so I got to be careful. On the 1st here against Cleveland in the shutout, we've got Julio Rodriguez, who kind of sums it up, not looking happy. I understand why he doesn't look happy when they got shut out. This actually by Matthew Bermudez. I apologize. The tag in the top right is wrong again. It's been a very busy start to the year. I apologize. And then we've got this photo from yesterday's game by Brian Saldana, where he captured the broken bat, which was cool to see, of Julio Rodriguez, where that one completely splintered. Last 2 photos were Julio. Talked a lot about Julio. He's ultimately our player of the week as well. He had 3 consecutive multi-hit games, totaling in 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 RBIs, 1 homer, 1 stolen base, and a .333 batting average to round out the opening weekend. That photo that you see there with him holding his Silver Slugger and AL Rookie of the Year award are by our photographer, Liv Lyons, as she was there on site for opening day and the game on the 31st, yes, against Cleveland. Tough one there. Julio's gonna Julio. It was good to see him start the year off right. I mean, multiple 3 consecutive multi-hit games is great to see. What's not great to see is that injury news that I kind of alluded to, and was one of the photos that I was going to use for the 31st, which for some reason didn't show up. On the 1st, the team had to place left-handed pitcher Robbie Ray on the 15-day injured list with a left flexor strain. As a result, excuse me. As a result, left-handed pitcher Gabe Spire was recalled from AAA Tacoma as a result. So you mentioned you will hear that I mentioned Spire in that game on the 2nd. I hinted to Ray being injured. One of the photos I was going to show was this one actually here that highlighted Ray's tough outing. It was tough. So it's tough. He's been put on the 15-day IL. He did throw a bullpen on the 1st, and he said he felt good. So I think he's just trying to build that back up. He was present at the game yesterday. Post game, I saw him with, I believe, some family after the game on the field. So, I mean, he seemed in good spirits, which is nice to see. That's probably obviously going to happen when you're around family as well. But, it's tough. There's a lot of criticism of Ray. He pitched well last year after one of the Houston games where he started to make an adjustment. Everyone's going to remember the home run he gave up to Yordan Alvarez in the first game of the ALDS. So, that one, and he had a tough outing against Toronto in the second game of the wild card. I just don't think it's fair to blow up. And, to be fair, there's been a lot of criticism from Mariners fans in general, a lot of overreaction. And I get it. There's heightened expectations after you broke your drought last year. But, hey, man, we've got 158 games to play. We're in April. The beginning of April, no less. Please calm the hell down. Things are going to get better. Let's just slow things down a little bit, and we'll move on from there. It's going to be fine. I assure you, it's going to be fine. This team last year in June was 10 games under 500, and they ended up making the playoffs. Please calm down. we'll go over the opening day roster here. We had a good idea of it, and we actually had a opening day roster preview in our articles. But we'll go over it. There's not much change. I believe there's only 3 new players on this list. We've got 2 players that are on the injured list. The pitchers are the same, except for I think Gott's the only new one. Yeah. So Matt Brash, Diego Castillo, Luis Castillo, Matt Festa, Chris Flexen, Marco Gonzalez, Logan Gilbert, Trevor Gott is the new addition to the pitching staff in the bullpen. George Kirby, Andres Munoz, Penn Murphy, Robbie Ray, and Paul Seawald round out the pitchers on the opening day roster, 13 of them. Your starting 5 in the rotation. I believe we talked about this last week as well, but we'll go over it again. Luis Castillo is your number 1. Robbie Ray was your number 2. Chris Flexen will take his spot in the rotation now that Robbie Ray is injured. Number 3 was Logan Gilbert. 4, Marco Gonzalez. 5, who's pitching today, and by the time you're watching this, will be a few hours away from first pitch, where he'll take the mound. George Kirby rounds out the rotation at 5. Some people were wondering, why is Kirby below Gonzalez? That's so he can get the extra day of rest as he can use to acclimate to a bigger workload. Reminder that Kirby really did not pitch that much in AAA. And the catchers, the team is carrying 3 catchers at the moment. One of them is a little versatile, so doesn't necessarily fit the strict catcher mold. Cooper Hummel, listed as a catcher/outfielder. He can also play first base. Tom Murphy and Cal Raleigh round out your 3 catchers that are on the roster. There are 5 infielders. J.P. Crawford at short, Ty France at first. Tommy LaStella can play both corners, usually third base, though. Excuse me. Eugenio Suarez at third and Colton Wong at second base are your 5 infielders that are on the roster. 4 outfielders and 1 injured list outfielder. Teoscar Hernandez will mainly play in right field. I don't believe he'll play at all in left field. Jared Kelnick, AJ Pollock, Julio Rodriguez, and Taylor Trammell. Trammell is the one on the injured list, him suffering a tough injury right before spring training actually began. I believe it was like a day or 2 before spring training began. And then they have the infielder/outfielder list is 2 people, one of them being on the injured list. Number 1, Sam Haggerty, and number 2, Dylan Moore, who, again, talked about this last week, who Scott Service said should be able to join the team here before mid-April. So that'll be good to see. But you've got a nice talented bench there. I mean, you've got, at least bench-wise, Moore, Haggerty, LaStella, Trammell. So you're going to have options. It's just about getting those guys playing time. And I don't think that should be a big issue, considering that you want to get guys rested and give them off days and just rotate. Obviously, when left-handers are starting on the mound against the Mariners, AJ Pollock will get some time. So, but I'm happy with the opening day lineup. Really, again, they're going to take some time to get acclimated. It's these early months of the season. It's cold. The ball does not travel as well. Teoscar Hernandez will be hitting home runs. I'm sure of it. He's had some really hard hit balls that just die in this air. So, again, I reiterate, please calm down. Excuse me. We go over here to March 1st. The team actually traded for somebody on opening day. No, the day after opening day. I apologize. When the team acquired infielder/outfielder Nick Solak from the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for cash considerations. Solak had actually been placed on waivers the day before. Solak, he was automatically optioned to AAA Tacoma, which fills up the team's 40-man roster. He's a 28-year-old who was, my apologies, designated for assignment by Cincinnati on the 30th. He's appeared in 250 major league games across 4 seasons from 2019 to 2022, all with the Texas Rangers. He has a career batting average of 252 with 117 runs, 35 doubles, 3 triples, 21 homers, 93 RBIs, 19 stolen bases, 74 walks, getting on base at a 3.27 clip, slugging 372 with a 700 OPS. He's appeared defensively at second base, third base, left field, center field, and first base. So I think a lot of it is the Mariners are just taking a flyer on him, truthfully. So, I mean, I'm not going to take too much stock into it, but again, it doesn't hurt to take a flyer on guys. We've seen that work out in the past before. So the Mariners sit at a 1-win, 3-loss record after 4 games and after 1 series. They're at 5th in the AL West. Again, Please don't panic. Looking ahead, they will wrap up this homestand with 3 games against the Los Angeles Angels tonight, the 3rd at 6:40 p.m., and tomorrow, the 4th at 6:40 p.m., and then April 5th versus the Angels, 1:10 p.m. That is a getaway game. They will fly to Cleveland immediately after that. They get the 6th off in Cleveland. April 7th through 9th is against the Guardians again in Cleveland, as I've said. Goodness, it feels like I've said in Cleveland multiple times. April 7th at Cleveland is a 1:10 p.m. game. April 8th at Cleveland is a 3:10 p.m. game. And April 9th at Cleveland is a 10:40 a.m. game. Those are all in Pacific Standard Time. So we've got some early games there on the 5th and 7th and 9th, and then kind of a middle of the afternoon game there on the 8th. We don't have any storm-related news for you. Again, they're kind of in this interesting limbo as we wait for the WNBA draft. But there is this fun little tidbit. It's been announced previously that Sue Bird's number 10 will be retired on June 11th. Also on that day, the first 5,000 fans into Climate Pledge Arena will receive this Sue Bird bobblehead that you can see holding a WNBA title and holding up 4 fingers to symbolize 4 rings. So if you don't already have tickets for that, you're probably going to want to go and buy those. First 5,000 fans into Climate Pledge Arena will get that bobblehead. And later on in the day, Sue Bird will have her number 10 retired. So that will happen there. Again, nothing else really going on in storm-related news. We go over to our Sounders here, who continue their regular season and continue to remain hot. Specifically, the Leo Chu and Jordan Morris combination continue to remain hot. The Sounders would win that one on April 1st. 2-1, our player of the game, player of the match, I should say, forward Leo Chu, an 8.3 match rating, 1 goal, 1 assist, 1 shot, a 75% passing percentage, and 1 chance created. The first goal of the match was scored by Jordan Morris on the assist from Chu, and then Chu would get one himself. The Galaxy would get a goal late to try and bring them within 1. Ultimately, Seattle would hold them off and secure the victory there. Seattle got severely outshot in that game, but they were able to come away with the victory. It's really great to continue to see that combination of Chu and Morris. Both of those two lead the league in Morris leads the league in goals, and Chu leads the league in assists. So it's been really incredible to see that combination just fire off. I know Leo Chu has been someone who's gained a lot of criticism since he signed with the club back in, I believe it was 2021. People have wanted more from him. He's gained about 10 to 15 pounds since he arrived in Seattle, and things look like they're starting to click for him. So it's really great to see that with some of the I know that the players that were on international break in the match against Sporting Kansas City were able to return, but a lot of them didn't return until they were substitutions. Brian Schmetzer decided to run with a hot hand. So, hey, it worked. The Galaxy are slumping. They haven't won a match yet. They're now no wins, a draw, and no wins, a loss, and no wins, 2 losses, and 3 draws. So it's good to see that. And I mean, it's hard to argue with the way that the season has gone so far. You look at the first 2 matches, you come out and blow out Colorado, you beat Salt Lake, and you really dominate Salt Lake. You lose to FC Cincinnati on the road in a late goal. It's tough. Should have been better in there, sure. You draw with LAFC. Probably should have won that one as well. You beat Sporting Kansas City in a large margin, and then you beat LA Galaxy. So you started out the year really well. Obviously, like the Mariners, you've got a long season ahead, so you've got to continue that. But they're exciting signs so far. So we move over here to team notes. On the 27th, Jordan Morris was named the MLS Player of the Match Day. He was voted the MLS Player of the Match Day, presented by Continental Tire for Match Day 5 of the MLS season. That's essentially Week 5. Morris scored a club record 4 goals in the Sounders' win over Sporting Kansas City at Children's Mercy Park, as we've mentioned. He became the 16th player in MLS history to score at least 4 goals in the game, and the first to accomplish the feat on the road since Clint Mathis scored a league record 5 goals at Dallas on August 26, 2000. Morris now sits third all-time in club history in both regular season, 49, and all competition goals at 59, passing Clint Dempsey in both categories. Dempsey 47 regular season goals and 57 all competition goals. He now only trails Freddie Montero and Raul Ruidiaz in scoring. So you have to feel good for Jordan Morris. Had a tough last year, and I mean, I was even critical of him when the news of the extension that he signed this offseason dropped. I was like, hey, you're giving this guy a 5-year deal based on, you know, what you've seen from him already and with the knowledge of his injuries. Are you ready to be prepared? Are you prepared in case that doesn't work out? And it's at least the early returns are working out. So that's good to see. So we look ahead here. The Sounders sit at a 4-win, 1-loss, 1-draw record. They are third in all of MLS and second in the Western Conference, behind only St. Louis City SC, who they play on April 8th here at home at Lumen Field with a kickoff time of 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. That is on Apple TV, but that match is free on Apple TV. So that'll be a big one between the two top teams in the Western Conference, and I believe should decide who, after that match, will sit atop the West, which, you know, that'll be cool to see. That'll be really nice. And that'll be a big match as well. So there are also a few matches going on that day. The Sounders play that day. The Kraken play that day, who are up next, and the Seawolves play that day. So that's going to be a busy day in Seattle sports. We continue on here to our Kraken, who I mentioned, playing 3 games over the past week, 2 of them at home, including 2 tough losses. First, March 27th at the Minnesota Wild to complete that road trip that they were on, losing that one 4-1 against a good Wild team that actually can clinch a playoff berth tonight. Our player of the game forward, Jaden Schwartz. Schwartz, 1 goal, 1 point, 1 plus minus, 6 shots, and 1 takeaway. Matt Boldy got a hat trick there, a natural hat trick. So that was just a really ugly one, to be completely honest with you. Seattle just got kind of dismantled in that. Boldy had that hat trick. A lot of mistakes happened in that one. I believe Martin Jones would. Yes, I believe Martin Jones came in relief. So that one was just ugly, to be told. So, truth be told. And on the other hand of things, I mean, Minnesota is also just a good team. You know, Seattle had played a couple tough games on that road trip, starting with overtime against Dallas, a shootout loss to Nashville, and then a blowout win over Nashville, and then they go into Minnesota and get blown out. So tough result there. You'd like to see them just be better overall, you know, just cleaner. You know, some mistakes were made, as I mentioned. March 30th versus Anaheim, a 4-1 win. Our player of the game forward, Jaden Schwartz. Again, Schwartz, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points, a 1 plus minus, 4 shots, 1 hit, and 1 takeaway. Seattle took care excuse me, of business against the Ducks like they should have. This is a Ducks team, again, that's been poor all season long. They're in the hunt for Connor Bedard with the top pick in the draft, if they're able to get there, if they lose that much. And excuse me, this one got a little chippy like it did the last time that these two teams met, the last homestand. But glad you were able to take care of business, handle that, get it out of the way. They weren't able to take care of business on April 1st versus the Kings, losing that one 3-1. The Kings get an empty net goal to add that third goal to the score sheet. Our player of the game forward, Oliver Bjorkstrand. Bjorkstrand, 1 goal, 1 point, 2 shots, 1 hit, and 1 takeaway. This one's tough. I mean, LA, you know, has been one of the best teams in the league since the All-Star break. They've played really well since the trades that they've made. They're just a tough team. They're tough. They're physical. They know how to score. This was a defensive matchup through a period. They would eventually give up. Seattle would give up a goal in the second to Sean Dursey. Dursey was left wide open back door because 5 Kraken skaters were on one side of the ice, leaving Dursey all alone back door for an easy tap in. Martin Jones played overall not too bad in this one. And even the second goal was tough as well. So this is a game, again, I talked about it in the loss to Minnesota. You've got to be cleaner as a season. You got to be cleaner in general. You got to be better. You got to be smarter defensively, but especially with this ticking down. You're only 1 point ahead of Winnipeg for the top spot, the top wild card spot in the Western Conference, and you're only 3 points ahead of Calgary for that spot. So Nashville is at 84 points, Seattle's at 90, Winnipeg's at 89, Calgary's at 87. So things are heating up, and you cannot afford to keep losing points as the season goes on. You're going to hit what should be a beneficial stretch here through the month of April with some teams that are really down and out of things. You also play the Golden Knights a few times before the season wraps up. So ultimately, it's do or die. It is do or die. You have to play a lot better. So I'll stop yelling into the microphone, and we'll go over our photos of the matches from March 30th here versus Anaheim. Here's Matthew Bermuda's got this I love this shot of Daniel Sprong celebrating after a goal here. It's been nice. Sprong was someone who got healthy scratched a good amount here in favor of Jesper Froden and John Hayden celebrating this goal here against the Ducks. And then Liz Walter, who you'll know from getting a lot of shots of our Reign and our Seattle Thunderbirds, has been huge for our Thunderbirds coverage. Got her first game against the Kraken here, and it got this really great photo of Yanni Gourde taking on, it feels like about 5 Los Angeles Kings here, and he's got even someone trying to rip his helmet off. That one was a lot of fun. That ended up being the photo I decided to pick for the article's cover photo. I really enjoyed that one. So that's it for our photos of the games. We go to player of the week, and with his name being mentioned twice, you kind of could have assumed or put the mental math together. I went with Jaden Schwartz with another photo here by Liz. Schwartzy, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points, 11 shots, and 1 hit over Seattle's past 3 games. Point a game average isn't bad over the past 3 games. So again, it's been a tough stretch. There's no team related news, but I mean, we'll just looking ahead at these next 4 games, let alone the rest of the month of April, let alone the rest of the regular season schedule. 3 of the next 4 at home. 2 of them are against Arizona, who have been pesky. They've been scrappy. So you can't mark them off as automatic win. You can't mark off any of these games as an automatic win because you play Arizona, Vancouver at Vancouver. That's the second day of a back-to-back. That's tomorrow in Vancouver. And Lord knows your record against Vancouver. You come back to play the Coyotes again. And then you play the Blackhawks, the Chicago hockey team. My apologies. With the way that the wild card race is going, and your magic number now sitting at 9 and still sitting at 9 after the loss of the Kings, and Nashville won that day, you kind of need to sweep these games. You kind of need to hit a win streak now. You can't afford to keep dropping points against bad teams. It's here's a positive. I'm talking about things you need to do. I'm angry, all that. Andre Burakovsky was on the ice today at practice in a red non-contact jersey. And he was with the main group. So that's good to see. Nice to see Andre Burakovsky back with the main group. Could mean his return is sooner rather than later. Considering the red no contact jersey, I wouldn't put all my eggs in a basket yet, but good to see. Anyway, I've said what I needed to be said. I think the point has gotten across here. I talked last week about the magic number and that explanation and how they can get to the playoffs, how they can clinch that playoff berth. But the easiest way to do that is to not have to worry about Nashville or Calgary or Winnipeg and win your own games. So do that first, and I won't have to explain how you can clinch a playoff berth. So here we go. We'll go with the next 4 games. The Kraken sit at a 41 win, 26 regulation loss, 8 overtime loss record. They are 4th in the Pacific Division at 90 points. They sit in the 4th playoff spot in the Western Conference, occupying the first wild card, only 1 point ahead of the Winnipeg Jets, as I mentioned. Their next 4, April 3rd versus the Arizona Coyotes at 7 o'clock. That is here at Climate Pledge Arena tonight. April 4th at the Vancouver Canucks at 7 o'clock. April 6th at the versus the Arizona Coyotes, my apologies, at 7:30. And then April 8th versus the Chicago hockey team, my apologies, at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So, are you tired of me yelling at you yet? Anyway, we move on here to our OL Reign, who after this past week's match, they get a little bit of a break until the home opener. So April 1st, on the road, second game of the year, second game on the road at New York, New Jersey, Gotham. The Reign would win that one 2-0. Our player of the match, forward Bethany Balser. Bethany Balser, an 8.3 match rating, 1 goal, 2 chances created. You could have gone with just Fishlock as well. Fishlock scoring the first goal of the season for the Reign on a great assist from Rose Lavelle. So that was great to see the Reign burst through and get this win against Gotham. I mean, Gotham is a good club. They've got a lot of talent on that roster, and it's good to see the Reign break through and win their first match of the season. Doing so without some key names. Their injury report against Gotham, 4 players were out. Angelina continues to be out with that season-ending injury she suffered last season. She's still working back. Phoebe McLaren continues to be out with a back injury. Quinn is still out with a leg injury, and Megan Rapinoe was out with a calf injury. Nobody was questionable. All 4 of those players were out. It's really great to see this. I mean, Fallon Torres-Joyce getting the clean sheet there, that back line helping out as well, obviously, and doing so on the road, second match in a row on the road to begin the regular season, and against a Gotham team that's got a lot of talent. You know, this was one that was nice. It was I would say it was tight, but the Reign scored their 2 goals, I believe, both in the first half. Let me get that right. I don't want anybody to be mad at me. Again, please give me some patience. It's been a long beginning of the year. Gotham. Nope. Okay. Yeah. Fishlock in the 31st, and then Balser in the 62nd. Balser was able to get that goal that she scored off of a corner where the ball was bouncing around. She was able to get a foot on it, push it past the goalkeeper, and the Reign would score have a 2-0 advantage. So that was nice to see. They do have the next week off, so there's no upcoming. I could do upcoming, but it wouldn't be for 2 weeks away when they host the San Diego Wave on the 15th here at Lumen Field. But it was nice to see that. You know, some struggle still with finishing. I'm sure there could be some improvements there, but it's nice to see a win. I'm sure that it helps some confidence out as well moving forward, and in terms perhaps of finishing. But above anything else, nice to just get the victory. So the Reign sit at a 1-win, 1-loss record on the season, 5th in the league table now with the 2 points that they secured and the 2 points that they have overall in the regular season. They're on a little bit of a break right now, but they will get back to action on the 15th against San Diego here at Lumen Field, which is the home opener, obviously. We move over here to our Seawolves, who they were in a little bit of trouble. They played on the road versus the NOLA Gold. They were down at the half. They were down in multiple scores. They would be able to come back, get a lead, and then they had to hold on to that lead as NOLA didn't make it easy. As you can see, the final score there, they would win 36-35. Our player of the match, wing Connor Mooneyham, 10 points scored in total, 2 tries scored to get those 10 points, 50 kicking meters, 10 ball carries, and 136 running meters on the day. This was one Mooneyham scored the first try of the match within like a minute of the game starting, and then NOLA kind of brought the fight to Seattle. They were, NOLA was 3-3 heading into this one at 500. Not necessarily spectacular, but they brought the fight to the Seawolves team that's undefeated. Seattle would say, hey, we're not going down like that. They would be able to get the lead back, and then they would have to deal with NOLA, who didn't want to go away, and they had to I believe there was even a penalty that was called on the 1 meter line. So really great to see this win. It pushes them to 6-0, and it showed some resiliency. This is a Seawolves team that they haven't won every match by a blowout. So to show this resiliency now just makes me feel better about going forward, because if they were just blowing everybody out and they weren't necessarily battle tested, you would have a little bit perhaps less confidence in a deep playoff run of sorts, because you want to see people get battle tested prior to the postseason. matches like this show this team's resiliency and their fight. So it was good to see them get that victory there. No team-related news as of yet. I'm sure some of those Seawolves players, probably Mooneyham, will be voted to the MLR's best 15 from the last week. But we're on a time crunch, and we're on a time crunch. So I won't sit here and dwell on it too much, but they sit at a 6-win, no-loss record. They're undefeated through the first, well, technically 7 weeks because they had a bye week. First 7 weeks of the season, they're 6-0. They sit at 26 standing points, first in the league, first in the Western Conference, just ahead of San Diego. They're bitter rivals. Who's their next match against? San Diego. April 8th versus San Diego Legion, 5 p.m. Pacific time. That is here. That is at Starfire Stadium. That will be on Fox 13 Plus locally and the rugbynetwork.com anywhere else. We'll be tuning in live from Climate Pledge Arena that day. Tuning in from Climate Pledge Arena that day on the Rugby Network. We'll be watching that on. But it's just a big match. I don't believe, there's no way that San Diego's undefeated, but San Diego has 26 standing points as well. They're sitting right below Seattle in terms of the Western Conference, in terms of the overall standings as well. Let's look here. Yes, San Diego sits a 5-win, 1-loss record. Their point differential is actually better than Seattle's too. Yikes. They've scored 8 more tries. They've allowed 2 more tries. That's going to be a big battle. That is going to be a big battle. And it's a rivalry game. So that'll be really cool to see. Speaking of teams that are on fire, that are doing well, that works well. The Sea Dragons have won their 5th straight. They beat the Arlington Renegades on March 31st on the road. A 24-15 winner. Player of the game, quarterback Ben DiNucci, 21 completions on 32 attempts, 266 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 2 rushing yards, leading the team in rushing yards as former league leader in rushing yards, as well as the top running back on the roster. Morgan Ellison was inactive this game. This was a nice game to watch take place. I mean, the Sea Dragons defense is something that I talked about in week 3 when they got their first win. And I was like, hey, these guys, the defense has played well. And I talked about it when they got their second win and their third win. And the defense, holding them to 15 is great. We've known about this offense since the draft happened, since the rosters were made. And they seem to be putting it together. DiNucci did have an interception on the day, so you got to work on that. But I don't think there's been a day where the team has been able to go clean turnovers wise, so that's something to clean up. But 5 wins in a row, that's great. They're the hottest team in the XFL. Somehow they're 3rd in the XFL North, their division/conference, because of the fact that they got off to that 0-2 start. But they got a good chance to rectify that this upcoming week. So before I get there, we have a little bit of a tidbit of team news. March 28th, the game against the Guardians, the Orlando Guardians on the road last week, was actually the most watched XFL game of the week with 1.1 million average viewers. So that's kind of a cool tidbit. Looking ahead, they sit at a 5-2 record, as I mentioned, 3rd in the XFL North. Their next game is against the DC Defenders at home at Lumen Field on April 9th with a 4 p.m. Pacific time start. That's on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus if you're not going to be at Lumen Field for that one. And this is against the team that you lost to week 1. There was the whole thing when the DC fans were throwing lemons on the field. And you're playing a team that sits atop the XFL North, so you have a chance. Wait, are they atop the XFL North? I don't want to be sure about that. I could be wrong because it doesn't seem like Washington DC should be in that. Nope, they are in the XFL North. Yeah, they're 6-1. The Battlehawks are 5-2. Seattle is 5-2 as well, but considering the fact that St. Louis beat Seattle head-to-head, there's the tiebreaker there. Seattle's record is good is better than the entire XFL South, but because of the teams that are in the XFL North, Seattle sits at 3rd in the division. So that's a big battle as well. Going to wrap up here. Normally, this is where we do Seattle Star of the Week, but again, because of the time crunch, got to get us out of here. I want to take a minute. I'm sure people will click off, and that's fine. I get it. Take a minute, talk here again. Whether do I have bags under my eyes? Kind of. You saw me coughing a little bit there. I'm sure part of it's the lack of sleep. It's been a busy start to the year. It's been a really busy start to the year. A lot of exciting things happening. Our Seahawks made the playoffs last year. The Mariners made the playoffs last year, and they've got some exciting pieces. Their regular season's underway. The Storm, Subers last year, they made the playoffs. They've got a retooled team. And that should be an interesting season to cover this year. The Sounders look good after winning CCL last season, not making the MLS playoffs. The Kraken could make their first playoffs in franchise history and only their second year as an NHL team. The Rain made the semifinal last year, won the Shield, added some interesting pieces in the offseason. Luani should be joining the group soon, I believe. I hope so. And they're playing their second year at Lumen. The Seawolves made it to the MLR title last year due to some interesting circumstances. They started the year 6-0. The Sea Dragons, their first year in this iteration of the XFL, they're 5-2, won 5 straight. The Seattle Orcas, the cricket team, is going to be playing in July. We've got a CSS Futures, which has been a lot of fun and really, really will start to kick off when these minor league seasons start to kick off. So, and then we've got CSS College. We're going to be starting on there soon. A lot of exciting ideas for what's going forward. We've added a few photographers to our team. So there's a lot going on. I just want to thank everybody for their support, whether that's a like on Twitter, or retweet on Twitter. You go and like the YouTube videos, you leave a comment. We see that. I see that. And it helps. It helps. Don't let anybody don't think it doesn't. We're in these press rooms that huge outlets are in, and we don't have the same capacity that they do. We don't have the same resources that they do, and we're still doing this. We got a hate comment, which was kind of fun, saying that I'm writing coattails. I've built Circling Seattle Sports off my back. 2019, started a podcast, started doing interviews through my own grueling, going on Twitter and Instagram and social media and LinkedIn and reaching out personally for interviews and getting that and having to fight and scrap for everything. Not having a car, going down to Shaney Stadium for OL Reign matches for our first press credential that we ever received, which is it's up there. I don't want to move the camera now, lose focus and all that. Joining Converge after I've already built a lot of this and built a lot of connections and taking care of their pro sports coverage, and really making Converge a home and doing a lot of great things with Converge, So any idea that I rode anybody's coattails or that any of the work that myself or any of the great folks at Circling Seattle Sports have done is off anybody's back or because of we're just getting in, it's a load of a word I won't use on camera. We're the best at what we do, and we're going to continue to be the best, and we're only going to get better. So I hope you're on notice. I hope you are tuned in. Give us a follow, all of that. Anyway, I'll stop looking at you weird. We'll get out of here. Play my intro.